She thought she was just being kind. She thought she was rescuing a stray cat. What she didn't realize was that she was petting a tiger cub. Jenna was a struggling waitress at a roadside diner in Portland. For 20 days straight, she fed a silent, terrified little girl who never paid a single dime. Jenna believed she was helping a runaway. But when 3 armored SUVs screeched to a stop outside the diner, and a man in a $3,000 suit walked in surrounded by armed security, Jenna didn't just freeze. In that moment, she understood she had made a terrible mistake. The secret that little girl was hiding was worth millions. And Jenna was standing directly in the crossfire. This is the true life story of the day the music died at the Silver Skillet, the neon sign outside. The Silver Skillet buzzed with an irritating electrical hum one Jenna Molson could feel in her teeth. It was 3:45 p.m. on a Tuesday in November, and Portland was doing what it did best, smothering the city in a relentless gray drizzle. Jenna wiped down the counter for the 10th time that hour. She was 32, with tired eyes that had seen too many unpaid bills, and hands roughened by years of bleach and hot water. She glanced at the clock. 15 minutes. The bell above the door jingled. Jenna didn't need to look up. The timing was always exact. It was the ghost girl. That's what the kitchen staff, especially a cynical line cook named Artie, called her. She looked about 9 years old and wore a violently purple raincoat, 2 sizes too big. The sleeves rolled up into thick rubbery cuffs. Her sneakers were soaked through, squelching against the linoleum floor as she walked in. "Hey, sweetie," Jenna called softly, instinctively wiping her hands on her apron. "Same spot." The girl didn't speak. She never did. She simply nodded, wet brown hair plastered to her forehead, and shuffled toward the booth in the far back corner. Table 4. It was the table farthest from the windows, hidden behind the shadow of the pie display case. A perfect hiding place. For the last 3 weeks this had been their ritual. The girl came in alone. She sat down. Jenna brought her a hot chocolate with extra whipped cream and a side of hash browns. The girl ate hungrily, like she hadn't seen food in days, but with a strange, disciplined precision. Then she pulled out a battered sketchbook and drew until exactly 5 p.m., and then she vanished. Jenna poured the hot chocolate carefully, making sure the whipped cream tower was dangerously unstable, the way kids loved it. "Here you go," Jenna whispered as she slid the mug onto the Formica table. On the house, Artie accidentally made too much cocoa again. It was a lie. Artie didn't make mistakes. Jenna paid for the food out of her own tips. She couldn't help herself. There was something in the girl's eyes, hazel flecked with gold, that reminded Jenna of her sister, Carly, of who Carly had been before the drugs took over, before the foster system swallowed them both whole. This girl looked hunted. The girl glanced up for a second. Her guard slipped. She offered a tiny, trembling smile, then nudged the sketchbook slightly toward Jenna. "For me?" Jenna asked. The girl nodded. Jenna opened the sketchbook. It wasn't filled with stick figures or childish doodles. It was a charcoal sketch of the diner itself, perfect perspective, flawless detail, but the shading was heavy, oppressive. In the drawing, the diner's windows were blacked out. Outside, standing in the rain, were tall, dark figures with no faces. A sharp, icy shiver ran down Jenna's spine. "You're very talented," Jenna said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "But who are they?" She pointed to the dark figures. The girl's face drained of color. She yanked the sketchbook back and slammed it shut. Her eyes darted toward the door, her breathing shallow and fast. "It's okay," Jenna said quickly, backing away. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry." "Eat your hash browns." Jenna retreated to the counter, her heart pounding. She pulled out her phone and texted her landlord, asking for yet another extension on the rent. She was 3 months behind. She needed this job. She needed to keep her head down, But no matter how hard she tried, the image of those faceless men standing in the rain refused to leave her mind. "Kid's a freak," Artie grunted, slapping a raw burger patty onto the grill. "You shouldn't feed strays, Jun. They bring fleas." "She's not a stray, Artie," Jenna snapped. "She's a child. And she's terrified of something." "Yeah, well," he muttered, "in this neighborhood, who isn't?" The door opened again. A blast of cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and exhaust. 2 men walked inside. They weren't customers. Jenna knew the difference instantly. Customers studied the menu. These men studied the exits. They wore heavy canvas jackets and work boots, but they moved with a synchronized efficiency that screamed military or law enforcement. Their eyes swept the room in practiced arcs. Jenna felt a sudden surge of protectiveness. She shifted sideways, casually blocking their line of sight to the back corner where the little girl sat. One of the men approached the counter. A jagged scar cut through his eyebrow, and his eyes were flat. "Dead. Coffee." "To go," he said. His voice sounded like gravel in a blender. "Sure," Jenna replied, reaching for a paper cup. Her hand trembled just a little. "Cream or sugar?" "Black." The man didn't look at the coffee. He looked past her toward the kitchen, the restrooms, table 4. Jenna fumbled with the lid. "That'll be $2.50. He slapped a $5 bill onto the counter and didn't wait for change. He leaned toward his partner, whispered something, and they both walked out. Jenna rushed to the window. They didn't leave. They climbed into a silver sedan parked across the street. They were waiting. Her stomach twisted. She turned back toward table 4. The girl was gone. The back kitchen door was swinging shut. She had bolted. The hot chocolate sat untouched. Beside it was a single page torn from the sketchbook. Jenna picked it up. It was a drawing of Jenna herself. In the picture, Jenna stood in front of the girl, holding a shield. Beneath it, written in shaky block letters, was one word: Shide. The next day, Wednesday, Jenna debated calling the police. But call them for what? A girl who drew pictures? 2 men who bought coffee? In this part of Portland, cops didn't show up for bad vibes. She spent the morning jittery, dropping silverware and mixing up orders. Every time the door chime rang, she flinched. At 3:45 p.m., the girl returned. She looked worse. Her purple coat was torn at the shoulder. There was a smear of dirt on her cheek, and Jenna's stomach sank when she noticed a fresh purple bruise blooming on the girl's wrist. Jenna didn't ask for her order. She grabbed the first aid kit from under the counter and a plate of grilled cheese, then walked straight to table 4 and sat down across from her. "Let me see your hand," Jenna said firmly. The girl hesitated, then slowly extended her arm. Her wrist was swollen like someone had grabbed her hard and tried to drag her. "Did those men do this?" Jenna asked quietly. The girl shook her head violently. She pulled a pen from her pocket and flipped to a blank page in her sketchbook. She drew a bird. At first, Jenna thought it was a cardinal. But no, it was stylized. A bird with its wings spread wide, surrounded by a circle of thorns. A logo. The girl tapped the drawing, then pointed toward the window. "The men outside. They work for the Red Bird?" Jenna guessed. The girl nodded. Tears pooled in her eyes. She wrote carefully on the page, "Daddy is coming." "But he is sick." "Sick?" Jenna asked. "Is he in the hospital?" The girl shook her head and tapped her temple. "Head sick." Jenna's thoughts raced. Mental illness. An unstable father. A domestic situation gone bad. A runaway child. A man hunting her down. It fit. "Do you have a mom?" Jenna asked softly. The girl's expression collapsed into pure grief. She drew a tombstone. "Okay, dead mom. Unstable father. Men watching the diner." "Listen to me," Jenna said, leaning closer. "I get off at 6. I have a car. It's junk, but it runs. I can take you to a shelter. or a police station. We don't have to stay here." The girl looked at her with an intensity that made Jenna feel exposed. Then she wrote, "No police." They listened to him. Corruption. Great. This was getting way deeper than Jenna could handle, but one look at that bruise told her she couldn't just serve hash browns and walk away. She was already in it. "Okay," Jenna said quietly. "No police. But you can't stay on the street tonight. You come home with me. I have a futon. We figure everything out tomorrow." The girl stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. And suddenly, the atmosphere in the diner changed. It wasn't a sound. It was like the air itself dropped, like pressure before a storm. The chatter at the other tables faded away. Jenna looked up. The silver sedan from yesterday was gone. In its place, blocking the entire front view of the diner, were two massive black Cadillac Escalades with tinted windows. They looked like government vehicles or high-end private security. The diner door opened. It wasn't the men from yesterday. Two men in sharp black suits entered first. Both wore earpieces. They moved with a fluid, dangerous precision. One locked the door. The other scanned the room, his hand hovering near his waist, right where a holster would be. "Nobody move," the man by the door said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. It was cold, controlled, and absolute. Then a third man stepped inside. He was tall, well over 6'4". He wore a charcoal wool coat over a suit that cost more than Jenna made in 5 years. His silver hair was swept back neatly. His beard was trimmed to perfection. His face looked carved from stone. Handsome, but in a terrifying, Old Testament God kind of way. He removed his leather gloves slowly, one finger at a time. Jenna looked at the girl. The girl had stopped breathing. She was frozen, eyes locked on the tall man like prey, staring at a predator. The man stepped into the center of the diner. He ignored the panicked customers, ignored Artie peeking out from the kitchen. A cleaver clutched in his shaking hand. "I am looking for my daughter," the man announced. His voice was deep, booming, and impossibly calm. "Her name is Maya." He held up a photograph. It was the girl, but in the photo, she wore a velvet dress. Her hair was styled with ribbons. She looked polished, cherished, like a princess. The man turned his head slowly. His piercing blue eyes, sharp as ice, locked onto the back corner. He saw her. "Maya," he breathed. The emotion in his voice wasn't anger. It was hunger. Jenna stood up. She didn't think. She didn't plan. She just moved. She stepped out of the booth and placed herself directly between the towering man and the trembling girl. "You're not touching her," Jenna said. Her voice shook, but she didn't step back. The diner fell silent. The man blinked, as if noticing her for the first time. He looked her up and down, assessing her in a fraction of a second. "Step aside," he said calmly. "No," Jenna replied. "She's afraid of you. She has bruises on her arm. You're not taking her anywhere." The man's eyes narrowed. "Bruises?" he repeated, taking a step forward. The two bodyguards tensed instantly, muscles coiling. Jenna grabbed the nearest thing she could, a ketchup bottle. A pathetic weapon, but it was all she had. "I swear to God," she said, voice cracking, "I will scream." The man stopped. Something flickered across his face, confusion, maybe even faint amusement. "I am Damien Cross," he said, as if the name alone should end the conversation. "And that child is my life. Now step aside, or my associates will remove you." "Your associates can try," Jenna shot back. Damien Cross signaled with a subtle gesture. "Chris," he said, "move her gently." Chris, the bodyguard with a neck like a tree trunk, stepped forward, reaching for Jenna's arm. "No." The scream didn't come from Jenna. It came from table 4. Maya stood up on the booth. She had found her voice. It was rough, unused, but loud. "No." Don't hurt her. Maya scrambled across the table, not running from Damien, but toward Jenna. She wrapped her arms around Jenna's waist and buried her face in her grease-stained apron. Damien Cross froze. He stared at his daughter, clinging to a waitress in a worn, stained uniform. The heartbreak on his face was so raw, so violent, that Jenna almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Maya, Damien whispered. Baby, it's Papa. Go away. Maya screamed, her voice cracking. You're the bad man. You work for the Redbird. The color drained from Damien Cross's face. He staggered back a step, like he'd been physically struck. He looked at his bodyguards, then at Jenna. The Redbird? He asked, his voice suddenly unsteady. She thinks I am the Redbird? He turned fully to Jenna, panic wide in his eyes. Miss whatever your name is, we have a problem. He swallowed hard. A catastrophic problem. Before Jenna could even process that, the front window exploded. Glass sprayed across the diner. Customers screamed, diving under tables. Jenna threw herself over Maya, shielding her as shards of safety glass rained down. Down. Everyone down. Chris roared. He flipped a heavy oak table onto its side, creating a barricade. Gunfire erupted from the street. Not the sharp pop of handguns, but the brutal, ripping roar of automatic rifles. Bullets tore through the diner walls, shredding vinyl seats and obliterating the pie display case. Lemon meringue exploded into a cloud of yellow mist. Kovac, secure the rear. Damien Cross shouted that he was no longer a grieving father. He was a battlefield commander. Damien reached inside his coat, drew a massive silver Desert Eagle, and fired 3 precise shots out through the shattered window. Jenna was pinned to the floor, the sharp smell of cordite and old grease burning her nose. Maya was shaking violently beneath her. What is happening? Jenna screamed. Damien crawled toward them, keeping low. His $3,000 suit dragged through spilled syrup and shattered glass. We were followed. Damien gritted out. I thought I lost them in Seattle. I was wrong. Who? Jenna yelled. The police. Mercenaries, Damien snapped. Hired by the people who actually kidnapped my daughter 3 months ago. The people who brainwashed her into thinking I'm the enemy. He looked at Maya, pain flashing across his face, then turned back to Jenna. Listen to me, Damien said, grabbing Jenna's shoulder. His grip was iron. You're Jenna Molson, correct? Born in Reno, sister named Carly. Jenna's jaw dropped. How do you know that? I know everything about anyone who gets within 10 feet of my daughter, Damien said. You have a back exit through the kitchen. Does it lead to the alley or the main road? The alley, Jenna stammered. But the delivery truck is parked there. It's blocked. Kvetch, Damien barked into his lapel mic. Kitchen is compromised. We hold the room. The gunfire stopped abruptly. The silence was louder than the noise. They're reloading, Chris said from behind the overturned table. Or breaching. Damien looked at Jenna. Can you shoot? I'm a waitress. Jenna shouted. I serve pancakes. Today you serve survival, Damien said. He reached down to his ankle holster and pulled out a compact Glock, shoving it into Jenna's hand. It was heavy, warm, safeties on the trigger. Point and squeeze. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot the child. Everyone else is fair game. Jenna stared at the gun. Her hands were shaking so badly she thought she might drop it. This wasn't real. This was a movie. Why are they doing this? Jenna whispered. Damien checked the magazine in his weapon. Because Maya isn't just a child, Jenna. Her mother, my ex-wife, died, leaving her the sole heir to the Vane shipping conglomerate. It's worth $4 billion. Jenna's breath caught. Maya only inherits if she reaches her 10th birthday alive. Damien glanced at his watch. Her birthday is tomorrow. Jenna looked down at the little girl in the oversized purple coat. The ghost girl wasn't a runaway. She was a $4 billion target. The Red Bird. Maya whispered, her face pressed to the linoleum. They are the Red Bird. The Order of the Red Bird, Damien corrected grimly. An extremist faction within the company. They want the money for, let's just say, bad things. Crash. The back kitchen door exploded inward. Artie flew backward into the dining area, slamming into the floor unconscious. Two men in tactical gear with red patches on their shoulders stormed in. Contact rear. Kovac yelled. The diner became a war zone. Kovac engaged the first attacker hand-to-hand, ripping a frying pan from the counter and smashing it into the man's skull. Chris, get them to the freezer. Damien ordered. Jenna, take Maya. Go to the walk-in freezer. It's steel reinforced. Go. Jenna grabbed Maya's hand. Run. They scrambled to their feet, slipping on the slick floor. Bullets pinned off the coffee machines, blasting hot water and steam into the air. Jenna didn't look back. She dragged Maya past Artie's unconscious body and yanked open the heavy silver door of the walk-in freezer. She shoved Maya inside and leapt in after her. Just as she was pulling the door shut, a hand jammed into the gap. A man in a black mask stared at her through the crack. He was holding a knife. Jenna screamed. She raised the gun Damien had given her. She didn't aim. She didn't think. She shoved the barrel toward his face and pulled the trigger. Bang. The recoil nearly snapped her wrist. The man screamed and fell backward. Jenna slammed the door shut and threw the latch. The click of the lock, engaging, was the sweetest sound she had ever heard. Inside the freezer, it was dead silent, just the low hum of cooling fans and shelves, stacked with frozen fries and tubs of ice cream. Jenna slid down the door, gasping for air. She looked at the gun in her hand. She had just shot someone. Maya sat on a box of frozen hamburger patties. She wasn't crying anymore. She stared at Jenna with wide, worshipful eyes. You saved me, Maya whispered. We're not safe yet, Jenna said, checking the door handle. Then the freezer lights flickered and went out, pitch black. A moment later, a voice crackled over the diner's intercom system, muffled through the thick steel door, but unmistakable. Damien Cross. A distorted voice sneered. We know you're in there. We have the building surrounded. Give us the girl, and you can walk away. The voice crackled through the intercom. Keep her, and we burn this diner to the ground. In the darkness, Jenna fumbled for her phone. No signal. The freezer walls killed it. What do we do? Maya asked, her voice shaking in the black. Jenna reached out until her fingers found Maya's hand. She squeezed it tight. We wait for your dad, Jenna said. He looked like he had a plan. He's not my dad, Maya said. Jenna froze. What? He's not my dad, Maya repeated, her voice eerily calm in the darkness. My dad died 2 years ago. Jenna's heart stuttered. That man? Maya went on. That man is the one who killed him. The temperature in the walk-in freezer hovered at 0 degrees, but a deeper cold sank into Jenna's bones. She stared at Maya, whose face was lit only by the fading glow of the emergency strip light along the floor. He killed him? Jenna whispered. Maya, look at me. That man out there risked his life to get in here. He called you his daughter. Maya pulled her knees to her chest, rocking on the box of frozen hamburger patties. That's what the doctors said he would do, she said softly. They said he's a master liar. They said he killed my real papa, broke into our house, and stole me. They said if I ever see him, I have to scream. Jenna's thoughts spun. The doctors? Jenna asked. Who are the doctors, Maya? The people at the school, Maya said simply. Where I lived before I ran away. Jenna's blood ran cold. They showed me movies, Maya continued. Movies of him doing bad things. Jenna looked at the thick steel freezer door. Outside, The muffled shouting had turned into a terrifying, crackling roar. Smoke began seeping through the rubber seals. The diner was burning. Jenna realized with a sickening clarity that she was trapped between two nightmares: a building on fire, mercenaries closing in, and a man who might be either their only way out or a murderer. But as she looked at Maya's wide, frantic eyes reciting everything like lines from a script, something clicked. The girl sounded rehearsed. Brainwashing. Damien had said. "Maya," Jenna said, gripping the girl's shoulders, "I need you to trust me. Not him, me, okay? I gave you hot chocolate. I kept your secret. Am I a bad guy?" Maya shook her head. "No, you're Jenna." "Okay," Jenna said, steadying her voice. "We will die in this freezer if we don't move. The bad men with guns, the ones who chased you, they set the building on fire. If that man out there is the bad man, I will shoot him. I promise you. But right now we need him to get out of here." Bang! The freezer door lock exploded. Sparks sprayed across the darkness. The heavy steel door flew open, and thick black smoke poured in, stinking of melting plastic and burning vinyl. Damien Cross stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the orange inferno that used to be the silver skillet. Blood streamed from a cut on his forehead, staining his silver beard. He pressed a wet rag to his mouth. "Move!" he roared. "The gas line is going to blow." He reached for Maya. Maya screamed and scrambled backward, ducking behind the shelving unit. Damien looked at Jenna, desperation raw in his eyes. "She won't come to me," he shouted. "You have to carry her. Please, I'll cover you." This time, Jenna didn't hesitate. She grabbed Maya. "Climb on my back. Now, Mayor, or we burn." Sobbing, Maya wrapped her arms around Jenna's neck. Jenna stood, coughing as smoke flooded her lungs. They ran. The diner was unrecognizable. The ceiling sagged. Flames licked across the acoustic tiles. The heat was physical, like a wall slamming into them. Chris, the massive bodyguard, was at the back exit, firing an assault rifle into the alley. "Clear left," he shouted. "Kvetch is down." "They got Kvetch," Damien said grimly. Jenna glanced toward the front. The other bodyguard lay motionless near the counter, debris from the collapsing ceiling pinning his legs. "Go! Go!" Damien yelled, shoving Jenna toward the back door. They burst into the alley. The rain had stopped, but sirens filled the air. The delivery truck that usually blocked the alley had been rammed aside by one of the black Escalades, now smoking and riddled with bullet holes. "The car's dead," Chris shouted, kicking a tire. "They shot the block." "My car!" Jenna gasped, pointing down the alley. A rusted 2008 Honda Civic, dented bumper, behind the dumpster. Damien didn't even blink at the sight of the junker. "Keys in my pocket," he said. "Give them to Chris. Chris drive. Jenna backseat with Maya. Stay low." They piled into the tiny Honda. It smelled like old French fries and vanilla air freshener. Chris built like a vending machine, crammed himself into the driver's seat. His knees jammed painfully against the dashboard. Damien dove into the passenger seat, already aiming his weapon back toward the mouth of the alley. "Start it," Damien ordered. Chris turned the key. The engine sputtered. "Wheezed, died, come on," Jenna whispered desperately from the back seat, pushing Maya's head down below the window line. "Come on, you piece of junk." Bullets sparked off the dumpster beside them. The mercenaries were advancing down the alley. Chris twisted the key. Again. Vroom. The engine roared to life, rattling the entire frame. "Hold on," Chris yelled. He slammed the car into reverse. The Honda shot backward, smashing through a wooden fence and scraping sparks along a brick wall. Chris spun the wheel, tires screaming, then gunned it toward the main road. As they burst out of the alley, Jenna looked back. The silver skillet her workplace for 5 years erupted. A massive fireball blasted through the front windows, sending a column of black smoke into the Portland sky. My tips, Jenna whispered stupidly, shock finally catching up to her. I left my tips in the jar. Damien turned in his seat. He looked at the burning building, then at his daughter, then at Jenna, without a word. He pulled a thick money clip from his jacket packed with $100 bills and tossed it into Jenna's lap. Consider it reimbursed, he said. Drive, Chris, Route B, get us off the grid. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, weaving through the industrial district to shake any tails. Chris drove the Honda like it was a tank, aggressive, brutal, but precise. In the back seat, Maya had fallen asleep or passed out from adrenaline. Her head rested heavily on Jenna's shoulder. One small hand still clutched the drawing of the red bird. She thinks you killed her father, Jenna said quietly, staring at the back of Damien's head. Damien didn't turn around. His eyes stayed on the side mirrors. I know, he said. She said the doctors told her. Jenna continued. Damien exhaled slowly, the sound hollow in his chest. The Red Bird isn't just a paramilitary group, Jenna, he said. It's a cult. A corporate cult embedded inside my company. When my wife died, I was unavailable. I was grieving. I checked myself into a facility. Jenna listened, frozen. I left Maya in the care of my chief operations officer, Silas Vane. Her uncle? Jenna asked. Damien nodded. My wife's brother. He wants the company. But he can't have it while Maya is alive. And he can't kill her outright. If she dies, the trust transfers to charity. So he needs control, Jenna said. Exactly, Damien replied. He needs to keep her alive until she's 18, then force her to sign everything over. So he staged the kidnapping 3 months ago. Took her, put her into one of his re-education schools. Damien finally turned to Jenna. The blood on his forehead had dried. He looked exhausted, human. They used hypnosis, drugs, sleep deprivation. They rewrote her memories, turned me into the villain so that if I ever found her, she would run. He swallowed. They weaponized my own daughter against me. Jenna looked down at Maya. It sounded insane, like science fiction. But after a shootout at her diner, Jenna was prepared to believe anything. So where are we going? Jenna asked. The police station? No, Chris grunted from the driver's seat. Police are compromised. Silas has the commissioner on his payroll. If we go to the cops, Damien added, Maya ends up back in Silas's custody within the hour. And you and I end up dead in a holding cell. We go to the safe house, Damien continued. I have a property outside the city. A bunker, completely off the grid. We wait there until tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Jenna asked. Midnight marks her birthday, Damien said. At 9 a.m., probate court opens. If I physically present Maya to the judge and prove she's safe, the emergency custody order Silas filed is void. I regain control of her, he said. And the company's security. Then I can destroy these bastards legally. So, Jenna said slowly, we just have to survive the night. Essentially, Damien replied. Suddenly, Jenna's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was the only thing she'd managed to save. She pulled it out. Breaking news. Hostage situation at local diner. Turns deadly. Her heart dropped. She tapped the link. A shaky video played footage shot from across the street. The camera zoomed in on the alley as the Honda sped away. The reporter's voice was breathless. Police have identified the suspect as Jenna Molson, a waitress at the establishment. Witnesses say Molson was seen arguing with the child's father before fleeing the scene with the child and 2 armed accomplices. Jenna stared at the screen. In one night, she had gone from waitress to the most wanted woman in Portland. An Amber Alert had been issued for Maya Cross, age 9, believed to be in extreme danger. Jenna dropped the phone. Her hands started to shake. They blamed me, she whispered. They said I kidnapped her. Damien took the phone from her lap and watched the video, his jaw tightening. "Silas moves fast," Damien murmured. "He owns the media narrative too. He's painting you as the villain to justify a shoot-on-sight order." "Shoot on sight?" Jenna shrieked. "I'm a waitress. I haven't paid my rent in 3 months. I'm not a criminal mastermind." "You are now," Chris said grimly, watching a police cruiser speed past them in the opposite direction, sirens wailing. "Welcome to the life, Jenna." Damien reached back and placed a hand on Jenna's trembling arm. "Listen to me. I will fix this. Once we win, I will clear your name. I'll buy you 1,000 diners. But right now, you are the only person in the world Maya trusts. She won't eat for me. She won't speak to me. You are her anchor. I need you to hold it together." Jenna looked at Maya, sleeping innocently while the entire state hunted them. She took a deep breath and thought about Carly, her sister, the one she couldn't save. "Okay," Jenna said, her voice hardening. "Okay, turn right up ahead. If we take the highway, the cameras will spot my license plate. We need to take the old logging roads through the forest." Damien raised an eyebrow. "You know the way?" "I used to go up there to think," Jenna said. "It cuts through the mountain. No cameras. No cops." "Chris," Damien commanded. "Do as she says." The Honda swerved off the pavement and onto a gravel track, disappearing into the dark. Towering pines of the Pacific Northwest, the safe house was an understatement. It was a concrete fortress built into the side of a cliff overlooking the Columbia River Gorge. From the outside, it looked like an abandoned utility station, covered in graffiti and moss. Inside, it was a high-tech command center. It was 8 p.m., 4 hours until Maya's birthday. 13 hours until court. Chris parked the Honda in the underground garage and immediately went to the weapon lockers lining the wall. Pulling out fresh ammunition and first aid kits, Damien carried Maya, now awake but groggy, into the main living area and set her gently on a leather sofa. "I'm hungry," Maya whispered. Damien looked helpless. He turned to Jenna. "I'm on it," Jenna said. She found the kitchenette. It was stocked with Maris and canned goods. She grabbed a can of tomato soup and some crackers. Comfort food coming up. While the soup heated, Jenna watched the 2 men. Damien stood at a bank of monitors, typing furiously, tracking police scanners and redbird chatter. He looked like a king in exile, powerful, but cornered. Chris stripped off his tactical vest. He was a mountain of a man, bald, with a barcode tattoo on the back of his neck. Efficient, silent, deadly. He had saved them at the diner, but something bothered Jenna. Back in the diner, when the first shot was fired, Chris had flipped the table before the glass broke. She stirred the soup. Maybe he just has good reflexes, she told herself. She carried the bowl to Maya. "Eat up, sweetie." Maya ate. Damien sat on the coffee table, watching her from a distance, looking like he wanted to hug her, but terrified she would scream again. "Damien," Jenna said softly, "can I talk to you?" They stepped into the hallway, out of earshot. "How long have you known Chris?" Jenna asked. 10 years, Damien said, rubbing his eyes. "He was special forces. Best man I know. Why?" "At the diner," Jenna said quietly. "He reacted really fast. And just now, when we pulled in, did you see him check his watch?" "He didn't check the time," Jenna continued. "He tapped the screen 3 times. Like a signal. Does he even have a smartwatch?" Damien frowned. "Standard issue tactical Garmin." "Why are you suspicious?" Jenna hesitated. "Because when the news report came on, you were angry." "I was scared, Chris." She swallowed. He looked satisfied. Damien stared at her. "Chris is loyal. He took a bullet for me in Frankfurt." "I know," Jenna said. "Just be careful." Damien nodded slowly, though he didn't look convinced. I need to check the perimeter sensors. Stay with Maya. He walked toward the security room. Jenna returned to the sofa. Maya had finished the soup. Jenna? Maya asked softly. Do you have any paper? I need to draw. Jenna looked around and spotted a notepad by the phone. She handed it to her, along with a pen. Maya began sketching furiously. What are you drawing? Jenna asked gently. The bad man's friend. Maya whispered. Jenna looked down at the paper. Maya was drawing Chris. She drew him big and bulky. But on his neck, right where the barcode tattoo was, she drew something else. A small red bird. Jenna's blood ran cold. Maya, she said carefully, did you see a bird on Chris's neck? No, Maya replied. But at the school. The man who hurt me, he had the barcode too. He said, all the red birds have the mark, so they know each other. Jenna stood up. She had to tell Damien. Now she ran down the hallway toward the security room. The door was slightly ajar. She heard voices. She's getting suspicious, boss, Chris said. It wasn't his usual gruff tone. It was smooth, mocking. The waitress, she's sharp. Sharper than you said. A voice answered through the speakerphone. Jenna recognized it instantly, the same voice that had threatened her in the freezer. Silas Vane. Eliminate her, Silas said. And incapacitate Damien. Do not kill him yet. I want him to watch when I take the girl. Understood, Chris replied calmly. Perimeter is disabled. You've got a green light for the extraction team. ETA 10 minutes. Make sure the girl is ready. Jenna gasped. She tried to back away, but her sneaker squeaked against the polished concrete. Chris spun around. He was holding a silenced pistol. He saw her. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. Well, Chris said, lifting the gun. Service is terrible in this place. And eavesdropping is rude, Jenna. Jenna didn't think. She hurled the heavy bowl of unfinished soup still in her hands. It flew through the air, spinning, and smashed into Chris's face. Hot tomato soup blinded him for a split second. A bullet ripped past Jenna's ear and buried itself in the drywall. Damien! Jenna screamed as she turned and ran. It's Chris! He's the red bird! She burst into the living room. Damien was stepping out of the bathroom, confused. What, Chris? Jenna shouted. He shut down the alarms. Silas is coming. 10 minutes. Damien's expression snapped from confusion to pure, mask-like rage. He reached for his shoulder holster. Empty. He took my piece. Damien realized. Chris walked in. He'd wiped the soup from his eyes, leaving a red smear across his face that made him look almost demonic. He raised the gun steadily. End of the road, Damien, Chris said. Sit down. Both of you. Damien stepped in front of Maya. Why? Damien demanded. I paid you millions. Silas offered me a seat at the table, Chris shrugged. I'm tired of being a dog on a leash. I want to be an owner. He aimed the gun at Jenna. She goes first. She's annoying. Chris tightened his finger on the trigger. Jenna squeezed her eyes shut. Click. Nothing. Chris frowned. He racked the slide. A bullet popped out, but the gun jammed. You taught me to maintain my own weapons, Damien said quietly, dangerously. But you never cleaned the firing pin on the backup gun I keep in the security room. He lunged. It was a collision of titans, Damien fueled by father's rage, Chris a trained killer. They crashed into the coffee table, shattering it. Chris dropped the gun and pulled a knife. Jenna, get Maya out! Damien shouted, struggling to keep the blade away from his throat. The knife hovered inches from his neck. I'm not leaving you. Jenna yelled, Go! Damien roared. Take the Jeep in the garage. There's a tunnel. Go! Chris slammed his head into Damien's face. Blood burst from Damien's nose, but he didn't release Chris's arm. Run! Jenna grabbed Maya's hand. Come on. They sprinted toward the garage. Jenna looked back. Chris was on top of Damien, knife raised. She made a choice. She spotted the dropped gun on the floor, the jammed one. "Get in the Jeep." "Maya," Jenna said, letting go of her hand. She ran back. She slid across the floor, grabbed the gun. She didn't know how to clear a jam, but she remembered something Artie once showed her with the diner. "Toaster." "Hit it," she slammed. The slide against the floor. The casing flew out. Jenna raised the gun. Chris was bringing the knife down. She didn't aim for his head. She aimed for the biggest target. Bang. The bullet tore into Chris's thigh. He screamed and collapsed sideways. Damien didn't waste the moment. He grabbed a heavy glass sculpture from the shattered table and brought it down hard on Chris's head. Chris went limp. Damien stood there, heaving, covered in blood. His own. Chris's. He looked at Jenna, still holding the smoking gun. "You fixed the jam." Damien wheezed, almost impressed. "I hit it," Jenna said, breathless. "It worked." Damien gave a weak grin. A siren wailed in the distance. Not police. A deep, mechanical hum. "A helicopter." "They're here," Damien said quietly. "Extraction team." "We can't use the Jeep," Jenna said. "They'll spot it from the air. Then how do we get out?" Maya asked, peeking from the doorway. Damien turned toward the bunker wall. "We don't go out," he said. "We go down." He crossed the room and pulled a fake copy of War and Peace from the bookshelf. There was a click, then the entire bookcase swung inward. Behind it yawned a dark, damp tunnel carved straight into the rock. "Old smuggling tunnels," Damien said. "Prohibition era. It leads to the river. We have to swim." "Swim?" Jenna looked down at her sneakers. "It's November. In Portland. Better wet than dead," Damien said. "Let's go." The tunnel smelled like wet earth and century-old rot. Damien led the way, his flashlight slicing through the darkness. Jenna stayed behind him, gripping Maya's hand so tightly her knuckles went white. Every drip echoed like footsteps chasing them. When they burst out of the drainage pipe onto the muddy banks of the Columbia River, the relief lasted exactly 1 second. A deafening roar ripped through the sky. A black helicopter swept overhead, its searchlights carving through the darkness just feet from where they dove into the frozen reeds. "They're scanning the grid," Damien hissed, shivering. "We cross now." 50 yards downstream, a battered aluminum skiff lay half submerged in mud. Damien smashed the rusted padlock with a rock. They scrambled inside. No motor. Just 2 splintered oars, and the mercy of the violent current. For 3 hours. Jenna rowed until her hands blistered. Freezing spray slapped her face. Black water surged beneath them. Fear was the only thing keeping her moving. Dawn finally broke gray and hopeless as the keel scraped against gravel on the Oregon shore. They crawled onto land, barely human anymore. More swamp creature than people. It was 8:15. A .M. Court started in 45 minutes. Damien's billionaire polish vanished completely. He spotted a Ford pickup idling near a warehouse and didn't hesitate. He yanked the stunned driver out, promised repayment without slowing down, and floored it. Jenna hauled Maya into the cab. They tore toward the city, leaving behind mud, exhaust, and the river. Courtroom 3B felt like a vacuum, sterile and silent. Silas Vane stood at the plaintiff's table, grief perfectly tailored into a navy suit. He checked his gold watch for effect. "Your Honor," Silas said smoothly, "it is 9 a.m. My brother is a fugitive. For the safety of the estate, and more importantly, for Maya, I request the emergency custody order be granted immediately." The judge sighed and lifted her pen. "Given the circumstances." The doors didn't open. They slammed. A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. 3 figures stood there, dripping filth onto the marble floor. Damien, wild, eyed. Bloody. Jenna, uniform torn and stained. And Maya. "I object." Damien rasped, weak but thunderous. "Seize them!" Silas shouted, his composure cracking. "They're armed. They're dangerous." Two officers raised their tasers. "Stop!" Jenna screamed, stepping in front of Maya. She lifted her empty, muddy hands. "We are not armed. We are the victims." The judge slammed her gavel. "Order! Bring the child forward." Jenna knelt in front of Maya, ignoring the stares. "Remember the shield," she whispered. "You don't have to hide anymore. Be brave." Maya walked to the bench, small, steady. She pointed at the man in the suit. "That is Uncle Silas," she said clearly. "He is the Red Bird. He put me in the school. He tried to burn us." Silas laughed nervously, sweat shining on his forehead. "A child's fantasy, absurd." "We have recordings," Damien said, holding up a USB drive. "Chris's confession. The order to burn the diner. It's all there." The color drained from Silas's face. He glanced at the exits, then lunged. He forgot about the waitress. Jenna tackled him with everything she had, slamming him to the floor. He struck her face, screaming, but she held on until the bailiff swarmed in and pinned him down. Jenna lay there, panting, blood on her lip. "Are you okay?" Maya asked softly. Jenna smiled. "I'm okay, sweetie. It's over." 6 months later, burnt toast and old grease were just memories. The new sign read, "The Red Robin Cafe." Inside, oak counters gleamed. The kitchen hummed. Jenna didn't work there anymore. She owned it. The bell jingled. Maya ran in, backpack bouncing, looking like a normal, happy kid. She slapped a drawing onto the counter. Bright colors filled the drawing, happy faces. A warm diner, no dark shadows anywhere. Damien stood behind her now. Not a soldier anymore. Just a father. "Silas got 25 years, Damien said, sliding a fresh cup of coffee across the counter. Then he placed a sealed envelope in front of Jenna. "And the trust for your sister's rehab," he added gently. "It's fully endowed. She have the best care for life." Jenna's throat tightened. Her hand rested on the envelope as tears filled her eyes. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "The restaurant was already more than enough." "You saved my world, Jenna," Damien said quietly. "This is the least I can do. You're family now." Jenna glanced toward table 4. It wasn't a hiding place anymore. It was just a table bathed in warm, forgiving light. "Table 4 is open," she said, smiling through tears. "Go sit, it's on the house." 6 months later, the new sign was beautiful hand-painted wood, elegant and welcoming. The Red Robin Cafe. Jenna wiped down the counter. It wasn't sticky laminate anymore. It was polished oak. The kitchen behind her gleamed with steel. The staff wore crisp uniforms, including Artie, fully recovered and now proudly running the kitchen as head chef. Jenna didn't just work here. She owned it. The bell above the door jingled. She looked up, smiling, but it wasn't a customer. It was a girl in a school uniform with a bright pink backpack. "Jenna!" Maya shouted, running behind the counter and throwing her arms around her. "Hey, troublemaker," Jenna laughed, hugging her tight. "How was math?" "Boring," Maya groaned. "But I drew you something." She slapped a piece of paper onto the counter. It was the cafe, bright and colorful. In the window stood Jenna, cooking. At table 4 sat a tall man with silver hair, drinking coffee. Damien Cross walked in a moment later. No bodyguards. No war in his eyes, just a dad. "Cappuccino?" Jenna asked. "Please," Damien smiled. He leaned against the counter. "The lawyer's finished today. The Red Bird network is gone." "Silas?" Jenna asked. "Pled guilty to avoid life without parole," Damien said. 25 years. "Good," Jenna said. Starting the espresso machine, Damien slid another sealed envelope across the counter. "The rehab trust," he said. "Fully funded. Best care in the country. As long as she needs it." Jenna froze. Tears stung her eyes. You didn't have to, she said softly. This place, it was enough. You gave me my life back, Damien replied, glancing at Maya, who was sneaking a cookie from the jar. Money is the least I can do. Your family, Jenna. Jenna looked down at Maya's drawing. The shadows were gone. Only color remained. Table 4 is open, Jenna said, wiping her eyes. Go sit, it's on the house. Damien smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. As he walked away, Jenna glanced out the window. Rain was falling over Portland, soft and gentle. Not the heavy kind, the kind that washes things clean. Jenna Molson started that week feeling invisible. She ended it as a guardian angel who helped take down a billion-dollar conspiracy. She proved that sometimes the strongest shield isn't made of steel. It's made of compassion, a cup of hot chocolate, and the courage to stand between a monster and a child. So what would you have done if you'd seen that sketchbook? Would you have looked away or stood your ground? If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that everyday heroes are real. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next story of survival and justice. Thanks for watching.